All right, gang, it is the next day. We're back with Zoli's 65 Cadillac. Now, Zoli, it wouldn't be a Coupe Deville because it's a convertible. So is it just a Deville?
Deville.
Like I said before, I'm not a Cadillac guy, because if it was a hardtop, it'd be a Coupe Deville, right?
I believe it's a Coupe Deville, even though it's a convertible.
I'm not sure. I do know a little bit about Cadillacs, guys, as you saw, and either splicey or rewind the video to where I released the e-brake by putting it in gear.
Yeah.
Put it in gear. Click, click, automatically releases. Cadillac. And I got to give credit for that, though. Mike Finnegan, when they bought their 61 Cadillac, they spent about 20 minutes on roadkill trying to figure out how to release the e-brake. Then Dave says to Mike, well, put it in gear, see if it's even on. He puts it in gear and dunk, up comes the e-brake. That's how I knew. Anyways, gang, okay, so we're putting an actual vacuum line. My assumption is somebody that had the best intentions worked on this car years ago, but they used some incorrect things, like that clear, degraded vacuum line. That's not a vacuum line. This is vacuum line. So what I like to do is I'll put it on the distributor, not pull it off with these big bulky gloves, slip it on, and then you want a little bit of extra, but you don't want to. I'm trying to be more technical because I've seen it in the comments. So that right there will be good. And then he's got extra vacuum line. So either use a hose cutter or wear a pair of gloves. Find the mark. If you have gloves on, you can use your thumb and rotate slowly through the vacuum line with the blade. Just back and forth carefully because you don't want to, cut right through the glove. And you get a nice even cut. And then there's the extra vacuum. And trust me, close the knife. Ask me how I know. So, as a recap, hopefully you've watched the beginning of the video. As a recap, this is why you take your time when you're resurrecting something like we did with Project Black Sheep out in Zoli's back barn. Now, we didn't share all the stuff we did, but that is why, because it gets boring. This almost burned to the ground yesterday. There was enough fuel in here to destroy the car. We got lucky. I should have put my foot down, not been in a hurry, and done it right. Don't make that mistake because, yeah, I got lucky. Okay, so vacuum advance on this car. They'll have different ports on different cars, right like that. So I like to use the line itself to kind of hold it on. Good to go. Here's our fuel bowl. Now we're going to clean and reinstall the screen with a new O-ring here. All right, so we're installing the fuel screen and fuel line input here with a new petroleum safe rubber O-ring. And I didn't put my phone on silent, but that's all right. So these don't have to be tight per se. Okay?
You're snugged.
Well, your brass going into whatever they made this Rochester Quadrajet out of, magnesium or whatever it is, so it's dissimilar metals. Very easy to strip. That's why I like to use the rubber one, because it'll push against both sides, because I collapsed it, so it's going to push and seal all the way around. Also, what I like to do on vacuum lines here is, just to help them stay, is just take a zap strap or zip tie, whatever you want to call it. And Zoli even reminded me about doing this. Just stick it around, make sure it's on all the way. It helps it seal. And we'll put one right here as well. And then it can't move around as the car heats up, etc. All right, now, I'll be right back. Okay, maybe not right back, but I'm back. Sorry, I forgot my thumb wrench, AKA crescent wrench. I call them thumb wrenches because, well, I'm from Newfoundland, so it's a thumb wrench because you use your thumb. So we got the fuel line here. I pressure checked that last night. It doesn't leak. Okay, so I went a half turn. I'm checking it to make sure it's sealed all the way around. Another quarter turn. Check the O-ring, make sure it's not pinched. That's tight enough. There's no need to over tighten fuel lines or brake lines. People do it so often, it's one of my pet peeves. Now, when we test fire this, if it dribbles a bit, then okay, I'll give it another quarter turn. You do not need to over tighten things, gang. People's biggest mistake is over tightening. Okay, so we're reinstalling the hard line, gang. We pressure tested it, it's good to go. Always make sure that these cups fit in to the other end. I like to start this end first because there's so much pressure on this fuel line. I have another one that I'm going to bend up to fit the car. As you can see, this one's a little bit too long. Now, if this end's loose and I'm careful, I'll get it to fit into here. And if I had to, then I think what I'll do, because you know what? I cut a corner yesterday and I paid the price by almost losing the car. So, use your head, gang, like I just did here. Instead of forcing that fuel line in, we all make mistakes. Unlike other YouTube channels, we don't pretend to be perfect. Because we're not. So, instead of forcing it, now I can quite easily put the line where it needs to be by moving the fuel pump, or sorry, reservoir filter where it needs to be and lining it up. Because if you can't get these ends in by finger until they get to the end, they're cross-fitted. And now I can easily put the float bowl, whatever you want to call it, reservoir, it's the filter. Okay, see, that's the problem. How much, see what happened there?
Yep.
So how much thread is good in there? This is why you take your time, gang. Look, the threads in the carburetor are not good. I'm really glad I didn't over tighten it now. I think part of the problem is the screen's too big. See how it's crushing the screen?
Where is it?
Yeah, look on camera, see?
Yep. Squishing it.
So the problem is, it's keeping it from engaging in. There's a filter here. The threads are not happy on this carburetor. You may need to come up with a different solution here, gang. And this is why I didn't over tighten it. If I had kept going, I would have completely stripped it out. So we're going to very carefully and slowly turn this to see if the threads will be okay. And I'm thinking they probably won't be. I think, Zoli, we found the true culprit here. This has been over tightened and the threads in the carburetor are no good.
I got some, I guess can you use plumber seal?
Well, it's not that, it won't tighten up.
But if we put some plumber seal around it, maybe.
There's no thread. Plumber seal won't help. The threads are stripped out of the carburetor. So putting plumber seal on it won't make the threads come back. Because the beginning part of these, all those shavings we saw yesterday, they're all gone.
And did you put the O-ring on there? And
yeah, and I tried it and I snugged it, but I didn't like how it felt, so I stopped tightening it. And then when I put the fuel line on, this came out.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
The torque on the fuel.
Yeah, like me moving it popped it out. And even with no seal put on it, if you look, it's not from anything we've done recently. this is stripped in the end of the carburetor. So this isn't long enough to grab the good threads that are still in there. And it's probably stripped because whoever put that screen in made it too long, so it wouldn't let it fully engage. So what we need is a longer fitting that has more threads, because the threads in there are still, there's still plenty of threads and they're good. But this won't thread in there. Like, that's in as good as it can be, and then like it's so easy to turn with the wrench, and it's not going any deeper. Maybe I actually did get. Maybe I actually did get the threads.
Yeah, you got it there now.
I did get it.
It's that.
Look at that! I'm better than I thought I was.
And that O-ring.
Chalkboard that.
That O-ring might be just not allowing you to get to it.
Well, I mean, even that other one wouldn't allow it at this point because the end threads. And FYI, gang, straighten the camera out. When Uncle Bobo said chalkboard that means he's heard me say it before. You guys don't know what that means, but it's a personal, like, between us joke when we say something over and over again. So here you go, Bobo. You do this.
Hell no. Give me another year.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take it out and see how it grabs.
You gonna try it with the O-ring again?
I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking, Zoli, because I'm trying to figure out how to save it so you can use the car like you want to.
Maybe if you...
My honest opinion is that needs to be replaced. Can I get this to work? Probably. Should you drive the car? No. Because it could strip out at any point. Honestly, that's what I think. I think that we need to get either tap that or get a longer one to really grab the threads. There is a couple different things we can try though. Let me think for a minute though. We might not need it.
Yeah.
Oh, Blake dog, my buddy. Yes, you're a good boy. Yes, you're a good boy. All right, so now that Blake said hi, we're going to use a trick. Disclaimer time. Don't do this, okay? Just don't. But if you're gonna do it, and I've said it in my previous videos. Oh, is that like a Cessna enhancing the audio? Sorry, that's Mikey McBrien's fault. Airplane. Okay, moving right along. Ultra copper. God's gift to sealant. All right? And I don't mean just a regular sealant. I mean, like, you can seal anything. Don't put ultra copper in your ears. I'm just... Anyways, moving right along. It's been a long day, guys. Okay. So... We're leaving this in. This isn't even going on the blooper wheel. To be totally honest, I had an itchy ear, and while I was talking, I was like, how am I going to scratch my ear? And I just incorporated it. Okay, back to being serious. So I've used ultra copper to fix radiators, all kinds of stuff. It really only needs about 5 hours to set up, 24 hours to be a full gasket. But the problem we have here, we can't put a gasket in here, because the threads that are still good are too far back. So, say you're on a road trip like we're going to take to Nick's, and you're thinking, oh man, I've developed a leak on my old car. What do I do? If you put a small amount of ultra copper on these threads, and you don't want to overdo it, so you start with that amount, right? And then you just wipe it along the threads, while building up a small ridge right here. Always start with a smaller amount because you can always add more. It's a pain in the butt to take it away. So we put a little bit there. Steal this rag out of here. Now what we're going to do is wipe it along the threads so it gets into the threads. So it'll help seal this in the carburetor while building up a small ridge around the outside. And of course we'll wipe off the excess in the end, but I want this to be in the threads. And ultra copper, it's safe for gas, it's safe for anything to do on the car. So as you can see here, I've built up a ridge along the edge. After I install it, I'll wipe the excess off. You don't want to use too much, and you don't want any inside here. So I made sure that that was empty in the middle. Now I'm going to install this in and find the threads by hand. It's a pain in the butt, but I will get it. Okay, I think we're into the good threads now, and we're going to very, very gently, while pushing, so it grabs the good ones. And it may not grab enough threads to tighten up, gang. And if it doesn't, then we're leaving it. We're gonna have to get a reman carb or something, right? This is just because Zoli has something he really needs to use the car for. So if we can get this to seal up and it's safe and doesn't leak, it can be properly repaired down the road after a small in-town cruise. So that is snug now with the wrench. So it's in good threads. The time it takes us to then hook this up, this will kick off and we'll just wait and see if it holds. Any tighter than that, it's probably gonna pop the rest of the threads out. Like I said, this is a temporary fix. It's not unsafe, but it's not something that you wanna leave or expect to hold long term. And don't use a different color because it's the color you have of the stuff. And that so it fits a bit better. And if you can't get your fuel line like this done up by finger tight, it's not lined up. This is the problem working on cars that other people have messed with. That's why I'm not a big fan of it. See, I don't know how good the threads are in here either. So as you can see here too, gang, like I was talking about yesterday, the wrench, a lot of people don't know this, it's designed to be able to flip around. So here, like, put it on like that. If I turn it around, it easily grabs the next shoulders. Okay, so now we're gonna start snugging this one up. And then, see this fuel line, whoever put it in originally, it's a bit long. But as I snug this up, it's gonna pull the float bowl / filter towards the carburetor. Figured we'd show you a little more technical stuff here. This fuel line. Alrighty. You gotta trim the tail off of that too. Alright gang, I'm gonna go grab some extra tools. We'll be right back. Alright gang, so now we're down to, we've adjusted the mount here because I don't want to bend this fuel line. And this float bowl / filter assembly from back in the day needs to be attached properly. And I'm sensing a Zoli behind me trying to figure out if it's going to work. There he is. It's my Zoli senses.
We have confidence in this man, eh, Uncle Bob?
It's not me. I have confidence in me. This is not being done the correct way. And I already said a disclaimer. It's whether or not my temporary fix is going to work.
be safe.
Yeah, it's got to be safe. So that's as tight as those lines should be, gang. If they leak and they need to be tightened, it's not fixed. It won't work. Because we can't tighten that one anymore because of the dissimilar metals. And these fuel lines are only supposed to be so tight. Otherwise, it's just going to start twisting parts. So we'll tidy up. And then after we're done tidying up, we'll start the car and see what happens. Okay, gang, so we've test run the car. It is no longer leaking fuel. Zoli will then be able to use the car. We're going to change the oil. Zoli, make sure you get ZDDP additive or zinc. You can buy the Canadian Tire Lorco to add to your engine oil. Don't run synthetic in it. Older engines don't like the Teflon that's in the synthetic oil. Make sure you use good name brand oil in it, and make sure you add zinc because newer oils don't have it. You want ZDDP. What I run in my older truck engines is 1540 Chevron Dello. You could run that in here also.
1540?
Yep. 1540 Chevron Dello. It's meant for a diesel engine, but it's full of zinc. And it'll be great in here. Okay. That's what you should use. Okay. And of course, replace the filter and flash it up. You guys will hear a little bit of lifter noise because the engine's been sitting for so long, but it's firing on 8. We're doing okay. It's just as we get along here. Zoli needed the fuel fixed. Fire it up, Zoli. And actually, I think a lot of what you're hearing, gang, is there's an exhaust leak down here. Shut her off, Pop. All right, gang, hopefully you enjoyed a little bit more of the technical and seeing the down-to-earth stuff. Let us know. If you just like us to see the main points, if you just like to see the main points, tell us. If you like this kind of video, tell us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one, gang. Thanks for watching.